Okay, we are now joined by Etalk's Lainey Leo for the latest in your entertainment headlines. Lainey, good morning to you. Okay, first topic today, let's talk about Awkwafina. There's some controversy brewing.
Yeah, and it's been brewing for quite some time, years actually. Ever since Awkwafina rose to fame, activists have been criticizing her use of AAVE, which is colloquially referred to as a black scent. And she has remained silent, has not addressed the criticism until now. This weekend, she posted what some are considering an inadequate apology on Twitter, was criticized for the inadequate apology, and then quit Twitter. And this is the immediate trigger for this is that she actually received a nomination from the NAACP Image Awards for her voice work in an animated film called Raya and the Dragon. And out of that nomination a couple of weeks ago, there was renewed criticism about the way she speaks. So I don't think that this is going to go away, even though she has quit Twitter. Probably not the best place to address it. And so perhaps we'll see her addressing it in a more fulsome manner in the next time she does an interview. But right now, that's where it stands. Wow,
that's an interesting story to follow for sure. All right, Lainey, turning to something else, a cause for celebration, I guess, called Kylie Jenner and Travis Scott welcoming baby number 2.
That's right. So Travis and Kylie, Kylie announced on Instagram with this photo that their baby boy was born on February 2nd, so 2/2/22. That hand, the other hand that you see there is the hand of Stormy, their daughter, who is 4 years old. So congratulations. Yes, good news for the parents. A happy, healthy baby is always cause for celebration.
Okay, and last but not least, Lainey, let's talk about Scream, because it's doing pretty well in the theaters, so well in fact that there are now plans for another Scream sequel. I can't even count how many Screams there have been.
So the latest one that came out in January is number 5, and it's kind of like a reboot to the whole thing. It's the first one that wasn't directed by Wes Craven, but it's definitely a tribute to his legacy with this franchise. And yes, as you mentioned, it did very well, over $120 million. So one of the most successful movies of this short year so far, bringing back new old cast members and adding new cast members to the story. So of course, because in Hollywood, when you have such a successful film like this, you're going to want more. Yes, they have greenlit number 6.
Wow, yeah, it opens up a whole new economic pie. All right, Etalk's Lainey, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
Legendary Canadian power rock trio Triumph. Well, they take fans on a guided tour through their nearly 50-year career as one of the world's top bands of the golden age of classic rock. This is a new rockumentary, Triumph Rock and Roll Machine, which made its premiere on Crave yesterday. That's why I'm referring to the small screen. Of course, this is a musical story. Here with Morris Triumph drummer, singer, and founding member Gilmore. Gil, thanks for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast to talk about this. Look, up front, I'm going to say this. I love your music. I love the power trio. I love what you guys have done. And I haven't seen this doc, but I'm really fascinated to check it out. What would you say to someone, I know it debuted at TIFF in September, what would you say to someone who hasn't seen it as to why they should catch your documentary here?
There's a lot of emotion, you know, and it kind of swings in multiple directions. You know, we start with, without giving too much away, the Trailer Park Boys being very, very funny. There's some really funny stuff with the band, but there's some real serious emotion that comes through from fans that really resonates, I think.
The title, Gil, Rock and Roll Machine, is that any reference at all to the sort of Canadian music industry or how music is produced and made? Where does that come from?
Well, you know, it was our first album in America, our second album in Canada. That was the title. The song was kind of one of our iconic tracks that we played at every show we ever played. And the story behind the lyric is as simple as, you know, the three of us out there, we worked so hard as a trio, we just felt like a machine. So we kind of self-branded ourselves.
Right, and Gil, the fascinating thing about Triumph is you had some success, pretty significant success, south of the border, which, up until I suppose really the last maybe 5-10 years or so, a lot of Canadians, have had trouble cracking into the American market and getting success in there. What is it, as you look back, was different about Triumph? What was it, that you guys were able to do to capture attention for the American rock scene?
Well, we were stubborn, we just were determined to go and do what we thought was possible. We always looked at, breaking in America as the holy grail. And all the bands felt that way. They tried very, very hard. But I think we were lucky that Rush got started just a tiny bit before we did. And they made it across the border. So they were the first band where we went, hey, it's possible. And we were, as I say, we were very determined. So a lot of touring paid off.
The other remarkable sort of aspect of Triumph that, most people do know but maybe don't quite understand is you guys the band broke up at the peak of your fame. I mean, you guys were huge, 70s into the 80s, and then it went away. I wonder, if you reflect back on the last 40 years or so, what goes through your mind the most about, do you think about what could have been, or are you just happy with what was, or what more would you have liked to have done with Triumph?
I wouldn't change anything, honestly, Nick. There was a lot of reasons for the decisions that we made at the time to stop touring and so on. And, they were serious issues, personal issues for all of us and so on. So, and you know what? There's something great about the bands that have, gone the full distance, like the Stones and so on. But there's something great also about being able to pivot with your career, do something else that you love. And I know that I don't look back with any regret. I just thought it was a great ride.
Yeah, love the headbanging, love the mullets, and love the pyro as well. Listen, Gil Moore, thanks so much for joining us here on CP24 Breakfast. And anybody should check out Rock and Roll Machine, Triumph Rock and Roll Machine, now streaming on Crave. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Take care. Meantime, one of Canada's most important border crossings for commercial traffic remains partially closed. Anti-mandate protesters on the Canadian side of the Ambassador Bridge, which links Windsor to Detroit, have stopped traffic from crossing from the U.S. Now, some vehicles are getting through Canada into the United States. Windsor's mayor says the protest won't be tolerated for long, and he wants at least one lane of traffic getting through. Let's pick up on that ask now. Drew Dilkens is the mayor of Windsor, joins us this morning here on CP24 Breakfast. Mayor Dilkens, thank you for joining us. What is the latest on your request to have at least one lane of traffic reopened into Canada?
Well, the good news is right now, Nick, traffic heading to the United States is open through the city of Windsor. So that's good news. That's half the battle. But the illegal blockage still is happening for trucks coming into Canada from the United States. So that part of the bridge is still closed. And so police continue to negotiate with the protesters to try and get access to at least one lane in each direction so that international trade can continue to happen. But we also respect the fact that they have a right to protest, and we're trying to find a way to accomplish both goals.
A right to protest, that is protected right in this country, but the right to block, economic, business, personal activity, where does the line get drawn here? And why do you think, whether it's Ottawa, Windsor, or wherever, things seem to be taking so long to make any progress?
Well, I think, to me, this is a bright line here. When you start choking off the busiest border crossing between our two countries, and for perspective, for people who are watching, we're talking 8,000 to 10,000 trucks a day, and on any given day, between $300 and $500 million of goods cross a day at this one border crossing. It's almost a full third of our international trade with the United States at this one particular crossing. So it certainly has immediate and material impacts on the economies of not just Canada, but also the United States. And I think this is a bright red line that you cannot allow this type of blockade to happen without some sort of intervention.
Yeah, and let's pick up on what you're talking about there, because, there's a lot of, assembly, automotive, et cetera, business in Windsor, industry there. A lot of this is just-in-time sort of deals, right? I mean, they don't have stockpiles of goods. It comes across and it gets assembled. If these parts can't come across the border, what's that going to mean to the workers on the Windsor side?
Well, Windsor is home to Stellantis. We make the Chrysler Pacifica and the minivans right here in the city. And I can tell you, within the first 60 minutes of the border being closed a couple of days ago, Stellantis was on the phone saying, what's going on at the border crossing and how long is this going to take? And so that impact it's felt almost immediately. And I think people need to know, we often say that the average part that goes into a vehicle that rolls off the finish line in either Detroit or in Windsor has crossed the border on average 6 times. volumes, and that speaks to the tight integration of our supply chains on either side of the border. And so when you add in just-in-time delivery, people can appreciate very, very quickly that there is not huge stockpiles in the manufacturers' sites of material. They rely on easy access and smooth and efficient border crossings. And so the impact is felt almost immediately, and that's why, because of the order of magnitude of what we're talking about, that is why this cannot be allowed to be sustained for any given period of time.
So how difficult is this for you as a mayor? I can understand it's personally difficult, in a city where so much of this relies on this, but as the mayor, what kind of, strength do you have? It seems this is something that's going to be dealt with either at a provincial or federal level, or, this negotiation via police. How hard is it for you to sit there and try to do what you can do, but it seems what you can do is somewhat limited?
Well, listen, you're right. Municipal police can do so much, in this particular case. And I have a vested interest as mayor of a city that relies on smooth and efficient border crossings, but I also live in Ontario and I'm a Canadian. And this type of closure, this type of blockade has an immediate impact to our national economy. When you're talking up to $500 million a day of goods that cross, it's not just automotive. We're talking about farmers. We're talking about all sorts of goods to market that travel through this corridor. And so it is very difficult. There will be, if there's no movement, I would submit today with the negotiations with the protesters, then it will require some federal intervention to come down and say, guys, we are not going to tolerate a closure of our, a chokage of our economic pipeline. That's just not going to happen.
Okay, it's certainly something we're watching very closely. Mayor Drew Dilkens from Windsor, thanks so much for being here on CP24 Breakfast this morning.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, the Blue Water Bridge between Sarnia and Port Huron, Michigan, has been taking in many of the trucks diverted from the Ambassador Bridge, which is now closed in both directions. But as it deals with truck backlogs, reports are emerging. Protesters are now blocking access to Highway 402 connecting Sarnia to London and the 401. Sarnia's Mayor Mike Bradley joins us live now on CP24 Breakfast to talk about this. Mayor Bradley, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's talk about the events that transpired yesterday. There were reports of a protest and a convoy truck now blocking one of those two lanes on Highway 402. What's the situation this morning?
Well, that appears to have continued. And so people understand, when the Ambassador Bridge is closed, the only alternative is the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia, Port Huron. And I expect on the American side, the same thing is happening with backups because they just can't get across the bridge. It's economic terrorism is what it is. It's that simple. It's not about freedom. It's actually denying other people the right to employment, including, ironically, the very group they claim to represent, truckers. 90% of truckers are vaccinated. Most of them that I know want to work and to continue to supply Canada with goods.
Right. And now that the Ambassador Bridge is closed in both directions, we had been reporting that it was only a one-way. Do you expect this to have an even greater impact on your city and the Blue Water Bridge? There's
no question. We're the only alternative. And the fact is that with just-in-time delivery and the valuable nature of these goods, whether they be perishables or auto supplies, you have to keep them moving. And that's what's going to happen. So the other day, we had like 4.5 hour backups at the Blue Water Bridge. I expect today is going to be much worse. And that's why, again, we are asking the province and the federal government to provide some leadership on this issue. We need them to set a game plan to end this. Canada cannot afford it. We're a trading nation. And the Blue Water Bridge and the Ambassador Bridge are essential to that trade and the jobs in Canada.
Right. So, Mayor Bradley, if there are more blockages around the Blue Water Bridge, there is no alternate. What happens then?
Well, that's the big question. And my own view, and in this country, politicians don't direct police, but my own view is this: ticket, tow, and if necessary, arrest. This is not a legal protest. This is an illegal protest. And they've made their point, and if they want to protest anywhere else in the community that doesn't impact on people, go ahead and do it. But do it 24 hours a day if you want. But don't deny other people, farmers and truckers, their livelihoods, and Canadians the food and the supplies they need.
Mayor Bradley, what's the law enforcement situation right now? You mentioned that some police officers did surround that truck that was blocking the highway. Exactly how many trucks are there? And is there a plan in place that you know of to move them out of the way?
Well, the fact is, it's a bit unique here. Windsor's its own entity. In our case, the bridge is actually in the village of Point Edward, and they have the OPP who are handling this. And in my view, up to this point, they've done it very well. So they're responsible. I know they're talking to the so-called protesters. The problem is they often mislead them. They often say, we're going to do this, and then they do something else just to mess up the system. It's almost like an anarchy approach to things. So the police have a plan. I'll be talking again at 9:30 with Homeland Security, the OPP, and our own people to talk about what is the plan as we move forward.
Yeah, it sounds like blocking a main highway and artillery into and out of Canada, U.S. for supply chain reasons. That sounds pretty criminal. So are you surprised that not more is being done right now? Who exactly are you asking more leadership from? Is it the province? Is it the feds? Both? What would you like to see? Both. Okay.
It's both. And I think they need to stop all the partisan finger pointing. It's their responsibility, this responsibility. This is a national crisis for Canada. And we're now into what, day 13, 14? We just can't allow this to continue.
Right. This really sounds like the last resort of getting goods into and out of the country. Mayor Bradley, thank you so much for your time this morning. Good luck.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Bare Naked Ladies' Kevin Hearn is no stranger to the piano with his prominent place in the band, and he has a new album that's out today. It's called There and Then, Solo Piano Improvisations, that he hopes will help listeners through a journey of musical meditation. Kevin Hearn joins us now this morning to talk about his new music. Good morning, Kevin. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, I had a chance to listen to some of the music, including that one right there, and you really dove into this journey of musical meditation. Walk us through this new album.
Sure. Me and producer Mark Howard, who's worked with Bob Dylan, Neil Young, and Tom Waits, we went to Montreal, and we found 3 locations. And I went in for 3 days and improvised for 3 hours on 3 different pianos, and nothing was planned, no demos. It was all what you hear on the record was what was captured there and then.
And you feel it. You really feel it. And, you know, at a time right now where so many people are just kind of struggling through this pandemic and many people going through a hard time, why was this so important for you to bring this out, especially in terms of the type of music that it is? It's really this incredible journey of meditation.
Well, when you've heard enough, you want to stop hearing about convoys and COVID. This will be a nice thing to put on, and I just wanted to make something that people could drift away to. You know, it's a very calm and dreamlike place.
And you really got personal with this, you know, one of the songs called Lou, and tell me a little bit more about the inspiration behind that.
Well, that was just improvised. I had a microphone and I was singing Ooh, and it was in the church and it was sounding really beautiful. And then when I had to find a title for that song, I thought, well, it sounds like Lou. And I thought, you know, it's kind of a nice, fitting, beautiful tribute to my friend Lou Reed, who passed away a few years ago now. So.
Yeah, I don't think many people realize that he really is a musical hero for you. You actually had a chance to work with him for many years.
Yes, I had his photo up in my locker all through high school. You know, I knew all of his songs. So when I did finally meet him, I think he realized that I really respected his work and knew everything. He even said in an interview once that I knew his songs better than him.
What a compliment, right? A huge compliment. And you also, I know you were very good friends with Gord Downie, and you made it a point to really involve his family in this as well.
Yes, well, I really connected with his family through the Secret Path project. And then the pandemic hit, and some of those developing friendships were sort of blocked off in a way. And so this was a nice way to reconnect and stay connected. I did a video with Mike Downey for Lou, and the cover art is done by Willow Downey, Gord's daughter. And she's just a wonderful artist and painter. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. She painted that while listening to the record.
That's incredible. I love it. I had a chance to see a video that you posted recently on your Instagram, and I was moved to tears. You were playing a song for your daughter, and I just, as a parent, I felt the connection there. And so I just wanted to know if your daughter had a chance to listen to any of this new music.
Yes, I play it for her. Yeah, she's my best sounding board. We connect through music, and she's she doesn't speak, so we connect through music, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It was a touching video. If anybody, wants to hear this new music, it's called There and Then, Solo Piano Improvisations. It comes out today. Where can people listen to it?
It's on all digital platforms, and I also released it on vinyl. I think it sounds the best on vinyl, so ask at your local record store.
You're speaking to me. I love listening to music on vinyl, so definitely a wonderful way to listen to something so beautiful, magical. Kevin, always nice chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the new album.
My pleasure. Thank you.